Welcome back for another video. Final thoughts of Gameweek 14 as the deadline nears. In this one we're going to answer all your biggest questions and dilemmas this week, and then we'll go through all the key news from across all the press conferences and final thoughts from my team for Gameweek 14 and beyond. First question from Damon. Besides Palmer and Jackson, which other Chelsea players could be worth getting? And he suggests Madueke, Neto or Sancho. As far as the mids and the forwards, there's no one outside of Palmer and Jackson worth buying really. None are nailed. I mean, Madueke's got the most starts of 11, but he was benched last match, which of course does point towards a potential start for that juicy Southampton game, but in this hectic December schedule, there's a reasonable chance of another benching. Sancho's only started 5 games, Neto 6. I'd look towards the Chelsea defence if you're looking to add more. Colwill, Sanchez or Cucurella. Colwill's only 4.5 mil and he's played every minute this season, as has Sanchez of course. Cucurella started 11 of 13 games, but he's got a bit less competition right now due to injuries. We'll talk about Mbeumo replacements in this video as well, which covers some players around the same price as the likes of Madueke, Sancho and Neto, and those are players I'd rather get. Baines asks, is it a good idea to sell Son for Saka this game week? This one's pretty straightforward in my eyes. I mean, Arsenal are in better form, Saka's playing far better, he's 43 points ahead of Son currently, and he's got the better fixtures. So my answer would be definitely yes, and it'd be the same for Palmer or Salah of course, if any of you are in that position where you've got Son and not any of those. Even if you've got all 4 premiums, which probably is very few of you, I'd still consider moving them down to a cheaper mid and then spread the money around. We'll talk Mbeumo replacements shortly and which ones I'd look at. Let's have a look at the scout selection, the best team for Gameweek 14 in isolation, according to FPL, and let's discuss some of the picks. How many have you got? They've gone with Sanchez, Gabriel, Gomez, Davies, Salah captain, Palmer, Saka, Buonanotte, Watkins, Jackson and Cunha. Just a note on Buonanotte actually, while I do like him for only 5 mil, he is on loan from Brighton, so if you're considering him, he won't play in Gameweek 15 when they're up against Brighton. So Konate's out for around 5 weeks, which takes us into the new year now. So Gomez looks like a pretty solid, relatively short-term play. I mean, 5 weeks at this part of the season is a good 7 game weeks, maybe more. So that's Newcastle, Everton, Fulham, Spurs, Leicester, West Ham and Man United. Not bad. Villa's form recently, and Watkins actually, is concerning. He scored once in the last 5 games, and Villa haven't won since game week 8. Is there a world where Duran comes in? If you got Watkins, you have to keep hold of him with those fixtures ahead, but I'd be more reluctant to buy him when Jackson and Cunha look better and cheaper. What do the markets say for Gameweek 14 then? Here's all the fixtures, the projected goals and the clean sheet probabilities for all the games. Perhaps a bit surprisingly, Man City topped the bookies odds for a clean sheet with a 46% chance. So it's still just slightly worse than a coin toss. Arsenal in second with a 40% chance and then Chelsea 36%. If you've got Lewis, you have to play him really, even if he is risky for a start. I mean, in fairness, Walker's looked so poor recently, and Lewis played in midfield last match, so there's a couple of routes into starting 11 for him. City have also got the most projected goals this game with 2.5, Chelsea just behind the 2.4, Arsenal 2.2 and Villa 2.05. So Forest have got the worst odds this week with an 8% chance of a clean sheet. Bench your Forest defenders if you've got any. Likewise Man United defenders given an 11% chance. Matty asks, who's the best Mbeumo replacement at the same cost or lower? And he says I'm looking for good expected goals against and good fixtures for the next 5 games. I've shortlisted 3 picks here, Mitoma, Bowen and Semenyo. Let's compare the fixtures first. So Semenyo's next 5 are Spurs, Ipswich, West Ham, Man United and Palace. Mitoma's are Fulham, Leicester, Palace, West Ham and Brentford. And Bowen's are Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. Comparing the prices, Bowen's most expensive at 7.2 mil, obviously still cheaper than Mbeumo. And then it's Mitoma for 6.5 mil and Semenyo 5.7 mil. This is very much opinion now, but I feel like West Ham could be due an upturn in form with such a great run, plus Kudu's returning in this game week, and Fulcru potentially game week 15. They're all pretty much 90-minute men these 3, so no winner in that respect. None are on penalties or free kicks, and no winner in that respect either. Bowen does take some corners though, while the other 2 don't. He's taken 33 corners this season. Now you mentioned teams with good projected goals for the next 5 as well, so who wins in that respect? 11 of 5 make really nice charts, projecting goals by gaming for the next 6. It's free data, so I'll link them in the description. The likes of City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea are the top unsurprisingly for projected goals. Bournemouth, Brighton and West Ham all line up together here in 8th, 9th and 10th, so very little separating them there as well. A matter of 0.8 projected goals separates West Ham and Bournemouth for the next 6. Ranking these 3, I'd go Bowen, then Mitoma and then Semenyo, all things considered. Of course, it is worth checking in your team whether that spare money could go towards a worthwhile upgrade somewhere else. Like if you went Mbeumo to Semenyo, if that gets you Wood to Jackson, that could be worth it this week. Question from John, and he asked for a wildcard team for Gameweek 14. So I've put together a wildcard here. This is exactly how mine would look if I was activating it this week, if I still had it of course. I used mine in Gameweek 9. I'd go with Raya in goal, Trent, Gabriel and Colwell as the back three. In midfield, Mbeumo, Salah, Saka and Palmer captain, and then João Pedro, Cunha and Jackson up front. The bench would be Fabianski, Rogers, Duncan, Greaves. I couldn't find the money anywhere for Bowen over Mbeumo, who as I mentioned in the last segment I rate slightly more, however they are close. This draft was pretty tight for money as well, so if it's out of budget for you, then Semenyo over Mbeumo works, or Rogers down to Dibbling or Bonanotte. Trent is a puzzle in my team I've not found a solution to yet. I really want to find a way to accommodate him later this month, if I can move the money around. It seems daft not to buy into the best defence in the league, and a defender with the best attacking stats by far, but maybe I have to settle for Gomez, or maybe Van Dijk. So I got Dunk on the bench, who Herzler has been singing the praises about recently. I think it's a matter of time until he's back in the starting 11. He's benchable away to Fulham this week anyway. If you've got more budget than me, then Van Heck's safer. Let's move on to the next segment, all the key news heading into Gameweek 14. Maresca says Fofana's picked up a hamstring injury and he's going to be out for 4 to 5 weeks. Again, Colwell's the one that I'd look at in the Chelsea defence. It's not worth taking a chance on who could play right centre back. Greaves not specifically mentioned by McKenna again. He's supposed to be back soon, and he did say players of Knox are going to be assessed before Gameweek 14. Tuanzebe is going to be sidelined long term after picking up a hamstring injury. Both Martinez and Mainoo picked up a 5th yellow card for Man United last game week, so they're both suspended for the trip to the Emirates, both a big loss for that fixture. Good news though if you've got Arsenal attackers. Yoro could return to the matchday squad for the first time this season. The other Martinez, Emmy's reportedly fractured his finger and that's going to be a huge loss. He did come off at half-time last match. This does lend some weight to holding on to Mbeumo, assuming that Emmy can't play through the injury. It would be Olsen coming in, who's not highly rated. But Ian sat down for an interview with Isak and they reported that he's fit to face Liverpool after going off injured last game week. If you've got Isak, what are you doing based on this info? It is a really rough fixture against Liverpool, though after that they do have Brentford, Leicester and Ipswich. I'd probably now keep him based on that, but as far as what Howe had to say, he said the issue's not long term, but the striker hasn't trained yet. Now Howe's always very elusive in his press conferences, so make of that what you will. Fulkrug's close to return for West Ham, Gameweek 14 coming too soon though. Though as we mentioned, a huge boost for West Ham as Kudus returns from his 5-match suspension. Really good that West Ham aren't going to be completely reliant on Bowen now. Kudus is a huge talent. There were a few comments about Kudus this week. I think he's a solid pick and obviously he's quite a bit cheaper, but I'd still rather Bowen. Last season Kudus had 8 goals 9 assists, Bowen had 16 goals 6 assists, and Bowen had exactly double the XGI over the season. Not much news as far as injuries from Slot's press conference. He did say that Alisson's getting closer and closer and he will be back in goal before the end of this month. Jota, Konate, Bradley, Tsimikas and Chiesa all missed out in Gameweek 14 against City. Chiesa's back in training. Finishing up with some final thoughts on my team then. I'm lined up with Raya, Vardiol, Gabriel, Pedro Porro, Mbeumo, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Semenyo, Strand Larsen and Cunha. Palmer captain this week. I've got one free transfer, 0.2 mil in the bank. It is tempting to roll to be more flexible from Gameweek 15, but my planned transfer is from Mbeumo to Bowen, which I'll lock in on the deadline stream later. Make sure you tune in for that, it'll be a fun stream. Beyond that, the challenge for me is getting Trent in. Now Wood to João Pedro still leaves me 0.1 or 0.2 mil short of going Vardiol to Trent. For that reason, it could be a mistake going Bowen over Mbeumo, but I'm naively following my gut feeling. Some other route to Trent could emerge later. I could roll a few transfers and wait until Gameweek 18 when Wolves' fixtures start to turn and then Trent's home to Leicester. Thanks very much for watching. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you on the deadline stream later. We're going live around 4 PM UK time. See you then.